Morning, everyone.
Taking the Thursday conference play this week at Ole Miss Saturday, noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. In Oxford. And at this point, we will turn it over to Coach Stoops.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, looking forward to getting back on the practice field today and another big challenge here this week going on the road with our second road game of the year in conference. So we know it'll be a big challenge. Going back to Northern Illinois briefly, after watching the tape, much like I said after the game, we did some really good things at times, and then at times we were just terribly inconsistent. A lot of the focus is on offense, it seems like, which generally that's going to happen, but really, after really viewing the tape and watching it, really it goes to us being very undisciplined defensively this week. So we got to get it straight. We got to get to a point where we play with all three phases, playing with the consistency that we're looking for. Just very simple things and uncharacteristic of the way we've been playing defensively. So I would describe it as undisciplined play. Offensively, again, very good at times, and then certain drives of play here or play there got us off track. I think the turnovers are obvious when you put the ball on the ground. At the end of the first half, that cannot happen. After a aggravating start, and give them credit, after the long drive to kind of, to start the game defensively, we were starting to settle in, got the turnover at the end of the first half. Uncharacteristic of us playing the middle eight so poorly. Did that, well, actually just the end of the first half, and that was not good. And then the end of the game, same thing. Just didn't finish the game very well defensively. Just let him hit let him hit two big plays really to start two drives at the end of the game. So we need to get a lot of that cleaned up and continue to work. The good news is we're 4-0 and have an opportunity for a great challenge this week, playing a very good Ole Miss team that we know. Playing them, they're going to go with extremely high tempo. They are running the ball extremely effective. And when you could run the ball like that, obviously it creates explosive plays. In the past game, they haven't needed to rely on that as much in the first four games, but certainly they could do a lot of things and be as balanced as they want to be. But they have two tremendous tailbacks, really three or so, but two that will play against us that are playing at a very high level along with their quarterback. So put a lot of stress on us defensively. They are playing extremely hard. I think they have some very good players. Somewhat unorthodox in some of their structure and the way they do things and bring some pressure. So it will be something with us being susceptible to some pressure and some sacks this week. I'm sure we'll see a lot of exotic pressures and things of that nature. So we got to get that ironed out.
Questions?
Well, you get Chris back this week. What has been your teaching point with him, and how has he responded?
Well, for Chris, it was just a matter of managing him, while he was out, just getting him the reps that we needed to. The last week or two, as I mentioned last week, he was getting reps with the first and second team, mainly the second team, or just different quarterbacks, just to make sure he wasn't totally removed from practicing our plays, along with staying in shape, being on the scout team, doing whatever was necessary, staying in good shape. And for Chris, he just needs to be himself. He doesn't need to come in and be our savior or anything like that, or save our run game, as any of that. We don't need him to worry about that. We just need him to be him, and we need the people around him, the other guys that are playing, to do their job and to strain and to do things better in certain moments.
How much do you expect Chris to affect the passing game as far as just opening up more passes? Just to credit him.
Not sure. We'll see. I have no control over the way they play,
Mark, any update on JJ? You said week to week last week. So.
Doesn't look good for JJ this week.
Mark, when you say you're undisciplined defensively, how does that show itself?
Well, just with us, a lot of movement eye candy, taking our eyes off of our reads, being out leveraged, just basic things, and we just didn't play as clean as we had been.
Marcus, you spoke of playing complimentary football. How frustrating is it that that's not happening right now?
Well, I mean, it's, why we work, it's why we do things. There's very few teams out there. You could ask, whoever's 1, 2, 3, anybody, you're gonna ask any coach right now, and there's gonna be parts of their team that they want to work on. We're not any different. We want to continue to work and grind and get better.
Is there an advantage or from a teaching standpoint, to beating Northern Illinois by 8 points rather than, say, 3 touchdowns?
Not really. I mean, our guys, they're going to watch the film, and we're always going to put that on the tape, and call it the way it is.
Marcus, I asked you post-press conference the other night about the holds off of the might miss. What did you see on the film?
About the what?
Some hold that they had missed.
Yeah, I think there's a combination of things. There's several runs that they could have hit up in there, and yeah, without a doubt. And then there's other times when it was cloudy, and you could understand what they saw, and so there's a lot of things that we could clean up. But I thought they were doing some things. They're very creative, and they were twisting and getting some guys in some gaps, and then there were times when we hit it pretty good and sealed them up. But we just want more consistency.
Mark, teams get more aggressive, I think, against your offensive line than maybe you are expecting? It seems like Northern Illinois brought the house a bunch of times. Youngstown State did a bunch of different things. Do you feel like teams are really trying to hunt down some of your expectations?
Yeah, I think that's, I think anybody would do that, and you're going to see different, like last week with Northern. Every game they go into, there's some new pressures, and everybody builds and puts new things in per week. Just don't know exactly what they're going to be until you get out there and play. So, they could be more aggressive, and that as I mentioned post game Saturday, that helped create some very big plays as well.
To have Berrien step up the way he did last week, I know you're looking for that more consistently from him.
Did you say Berrien?
Berrien,
Yeah.
For him to have that type of game, how important is it for you guys going into this SEC stretch again to have more than just 2 options there, receiver? Obviously, you have the tight ends too.
It's very important, and I feel like we have as much depth as we had in certainly my tenure here at Kentucky. So we have, 5, 6 wideouts that we have a lot of confidence in. The games are going pretty quick. If you notice Saturday, that game went fast. I mean, we had 1 possession in the first quarter. So that's where defensively we got to get off the field, and offensively we had some drives that take some time, and then we had a couple that go extremely fast, which is good. Defensively is where we can't allow them to drive, and really we settled in. The first possession went for however many plays it was, but long drive. Is that it? Thurs? I think it was 11, but whatever, too many.
I'm talking about our drive.
Yeah.
I'm talking about our drive.
Theirs was 11 plays, 75-yard drive. But point is that's takes the air out. And let me mention it while I'm thinking about it, because the stadium, the fans are awesome, and we had an unbelievable crowd once again. Thank you, and then we start that way and let them drive. It kind of takes the air out a little bit, and then it offsets it, because the rest of the time we go through some possessions outside of the turnover. We let them drive 34 yards at the end, right at the end there, which kind of was an aggravating drive. But the rest of them there's 1, 2, 3. There's 6 drives in there, but there's like 27 yards or something like that. We have a chance to pull away. We just gotta capitalize. It's one of those games that kind of, we let it get close at the end and shouldn't have done it.
Mark, is Ty Asian healthy and good to go? And the young safeties, Lovett and Childress, how did they look on
Yeah, Zion showed some flashes. He did some really good things, and then had a few plays uncharacteristic of him, where he had bad leverage and, could have got him down on the 30 on the one explosive there. And a couple plays he could play better. Jordan's, again, doing some really good things. Some of this experience is invaluable to him. But, there's some things that he's seeing for the first time. And so you need to bank those reps and again, just play cleaner and learn from some of the things that are going on. Ty is, he's got an injury that he's dealing with, and it was bothering him a little bit Saturday. Hopefully he'll get back to full strength here this week.
Mark, you've never been one to poo-poo recognition for your team. I'm looking at the AP poll: Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, USC, Kentucky. How does that hit you? And more importantly, how do you think your team will respond to something like that?
Well, I like it there. I'd like it to stay there. That's really what's most important. Sure. It helps with, I think, as I mentioned, the fan base and showing up and having the people there. It helps in recruiting. It helps, with your team. And hopefully it motivates them to practice hard to stay that way, because we know we have a very tough stretch coming up starting here this week. So, our team is mature enough. Certainly there's some young guys that need to still be taught quite a bit. But the leadership of this team knows that that's fine, but it's really about how we practice and how we prepare and getting ready for a really good team and another tough challenge.
Back to that first drive, the opponent's first drive. Same thing happened in the Miami of Ohio game. They came out with that first drive, but didn't do much after that. Northern Illinois after the first drive, until you mentioned a couple of other drives. Is that a process of just getting the guys settled down, or is it making adjustments? How do you
Both.
got better after that?
Yeah, both. I think it's a credit to the players and the coaches. Just kind of, they have all week. We have all week to scheme up a lot of plays and set you up. And some of that is how they're getting to what they do. Different presentations. And so you get a chance to get over on the sideline, settle the guys down, talk to them, show them what's going on, and then generally we pick things up and slow down, a bit, slow them down.
Ole Miss only got up 2 sacks all year. They don't throw it a ton, obviously. How do you feel about your pass rush right now, especially if the Virginia can't go?
Well, it is different in a game like this because there's so much deception and they're so fast. And a lot of their pass game is off that, and they still have a lot in their tank that they haven't had to use, and so there's a lot there, that they can do. So that's where we have to be much better, much more disciplined, much more locked in on our assignments, because there's a lot going on. And off the run game, their play action and wheels and verticals and different layers that they can throw out there. There's a lot to it where they can strike fast. Drop back passing game isn't as much, isn't what they're going to do. Except when you have to in certain predictable situations.
What makes Lane such a good offensive play caller and scheme?
Yeah, I think they're very aggressive. Their style and the tempo definitely puts pressure on you. And so I think also it's a credit to him, because you could see the way they are adjusting and how creative they are in their run game this year, because they have very talented running backs, and they have a scheme where they could take it a lot of different ways, and very complex and creative with the way they're creating space. And then their play action off of it. But I think with Lane, he adapts to the players that are around him. He really always have. I go back to the days competing against Lane way back when we were at Arizona and he was at USC, and much different style of offense, much different style of defense, but obviously always, just a lot of respect for him and the way he coaches and their aggressive nature.
What's about their defense that makes it unorthodox? Just the three safeties, how they line up?
Yeah, it's just a little different, with how they line up. I mean, they're just getting everything that we've seen. It's just how they present it and how they get to it.
Mark, we saw Juton came back this week. After watching the tape, how do you feel he played and like maybe what you saw in this limited time you had him?
Yeah, I think he's getting back healthy and looking better, and that'll be good for us to get him healthy as well.
You have players, we've talked about it all year, who are playing a lot more, carrying more of a load. Is the undisciplined play maybe a function of maybe immaturity, guys just still trying to learn how to play up to this level?
Yeah, and I think, defensively, I don't know. I mean, we got to go see him. We got to talk to him. It's uncharacteristic. I was, challenging the team last week in a team meeting, especially the offense in certain positions where the defense had a relatively good game. Now you come back a week later, it's that. Guess it is the old adage, that's why don't pat us on the back. You know what I mean? Don't, and as coaches, we try to offset that and talk about that constantly. I mean, I pounded it with the team last week about us and about the way we practice, the way we play, the discipline we have. And I guess, it's human nature. They hear good things, they're playing good, and then go out there and play very average.
Mark, in terms of Keontae Goodwin, how is his development going? How close is he to being ready to assume a larger role?
I mean, as I say every Monday, he's a really good young man that's working really hard, that's working his way in the shape that I believe will be a very good player. When that is, we don't need to to rush people. It's, look at, guys that have been here. I mean, they blow up as a fourth-year player, a fifth-year player. You just never know. Some guys are ready to go early. Not many are. It's a hard game to play. It's a hard position to play. But he'll be good in the right time.
In terms of his red shirt, are you committed to?
Yeah, we're committed to playing him.
He played the 4 games already. Ole Miss resembles which of the 4 teams the most?
What?
Of the 4 teams you've already played, which team does Ole Miss resemble the most?
I don't know if that's. I mean, the last thing I need is a headline comparing Ole Miss to one of the 4 teams I played. I mean, no matter how I say it, that's how it would come out, right? Like in the headline. I'm a little wiser than that.
I think we're relying on the running game, but what have you seen from Jackson Dart, who's finally officially named our starter at quarterback?
Yeah, I think he's a really good player. He's getting better with every rep. He's explosive. He's making good decisions. There's been games this year where, much like our offense, they've stopped themselves. I'm sure they're sitting there saying, who stopped us? We stopped ourselves. Bad snap, bad, communication, just certain things. But you can see when they're clicking and in a rhythm. He's very talented. He can run, makes good decisions, could throw it. And like I said, they're sitting on a lot of explosives that they're setting up, and they can do a lot of different things.
Speaking of explosives, how different is it to have so many explosive options on offense this year as compared to years past?
Well, it's great. I've mentioned that, every week. It's certainly really good to see us take a dig or take a deep in and take it to the house and have explosive guys. I mean, we've been looking for that. So, it's really good. And, that is, certainly our pass game right now, our drop back passing game's the best it's been since I've been here by far. And, that has a lot to do with Will, but it has a lot to do with the wideouts. And we've had our moments in protection being very good. We all know that we need to improve, but we've hit some very big plays because of that protection.
Your players said he thought that Chris being on the scout team had really helped the defense so far. How much was he doing there, and what did you see in him embracing?
Yeah, he needs to get down there and get the reps, get the feel, see the vision, have the vision that we're talking about, and get thudded up a little bit. So he picked his spots, went down there, was working with the offense. There's always individual in practice, so there's a lot of different ways.
Keeter and Jacques are returning, at a game this week to the school that they used to play at. Do you think that gives them a little extra more motivation, or are those guys so experienced it's just another game for them?
I really don't know. You'd have to talk to them. They're both older, mature guys, so I'm not overly concerned about it. I think they understand that they just got to go out there and play.
Your team played well in your only other road game, obviously down in Florida. They told us they kind of thrived on that atmosphere at the Swamp. Does that give you cause for optimism this week? I know every game's different, but...
Well, every game is different because, right now we are maybe one, I think it's one, but we're right at the top of the league in fewest penalties, and that's a good thing. But we won't go back to, if I could go back to game 3, and we talked about, game 3 versus Youngstown, we had 10, if I'm not mistaken. But we're still top in the league, fewest penalty yards in the league. So we have to continue that. That's another tough challenge with going on the road, and it's a new opportunity. It's a new game. Just because we handled some of that environment fairly well in the Florida game doesn't mean it carries over. We have to have that same level of concentration.
Mark, a lot of blue heading down to Oxford this weekend. I know you appreciate that. Do you have any tailgating recommendations, any restaurants you'd like to?
This is one of the few places that I've never been. So, no, it's new for me as well. No clue. I wouldn't give it to you anyway, so I don't know. But I do appreciate the fan base going down there. And as I mentioned, the home games have been terrific. I wish we'd have started faster to get the juice going.
There's not a particular bourbon you think they should take with them?
Always William Tarr. I mean,
The fact it's going to be 11 o'clock that time, you think that work is finished with Wildcat?
It is what it is. That's the situation, man. Let's go deal with it.
Marcus, the offensive line starts to get a little more continuity with those 5 guys. Can you see that on film?
Yes, I can, and there's optimism there for us, with that growth. We've seen it before. When you have new guys and you got new positions and they're getting experience with every game, they're getting better with every opportunity. There's moments that it sticks out, but there's a lot of good things they're doing as well.
Your record against Western Division teams hasn't been very good. Does that matter in your mind? Is that a factor at all?
I don't even know what it is, bud. I'm sure you'll point it out for me. So, no, it's a new game, new opportunity. When it's on the right side of something, it doesn't mean anything either, right? So, it really doesn't. So.
Anyone else? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.